today.
Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, man. So an interesting heavyweight fight coming out. Shout out to my man AJ. He sent me this message informing me about this. I'll leave a link to this article in the comments section. You can click it, read it, come to your own surmise. But this fight right here will be a co-feature going down July 13th at the Armory in Minneapolis, my neck of the woods. I'm probably about 10 minutes away from the Armory. So I'm going to make it out to this fight July 13th. Jamal James will be on that card. Minneapolis native going against Antonio DeMarco, former world title holder. All right. Now to this matchup right here, man. This is a must win for both of these gentlemen. Gerald Washington, his last 4 fights, 3 losses, all 3 by stoppage. You know, Deontay Wilder, Gerald Miller, Adam Konowski, and the one win that he did have in there was against John Wesley No Fire. No Fire was making his comeback. He had lost to Joey A. Bell, so both of those guys trying to bounce back. That was an entertaining fight, No Fire and Gerald Washington. All right. You know, the last time we seen Robert Helenius, I'm actually watching the Erkin Tepper fight right now. It's in round 5, watching this fight. And Helenius, man, you know, to me, he hasn't looked at his best, in my opinion, since about like that 2015, probably like the France Real fight somewhere in there, maybe a little bit before that. The Johan Duipa fight was his, you know, stoppage loss. You know, he's been having some nagging injuries going into fights or preparing for fights. Nobody's 100%. All right, so I'm not making excuses, but I'm just being real about him. You know what I mean? But, you know, Helenius wants to slow the pace down. He wants to use his jab, come behind it with the jab, right hand, left hook, circle away, jab, right hand, left hook. When you get in close, he wants to tie you up, wrap you up, grab you, let the ref break, get back to the jab. That's pretty much him. And his money punches that right hand after he throws that jab out there. Sometimes he'll throw a thudding jab. Sometimes he likes to lead with left hooks. You know what I mean? He's kind of a 1-2, 1-2-3 type of puncher. All right. I've seen him had his most problems when he's trying to deal with pressure. The fight he had with, I don't even want to butcher this guy's name. I can never get this guy's last name right, but the 2 fights he had prior to the Erkin Tepper fight against Yuri, and I cannot pronounce the guy's last name, Yuri B. We'll call him Yuri B. All right. That guy was putting a lot of pressure in both of those fights, man. He was putting a lot of pressure on Helenius. You can argue that Helenius lost that first fight, and even the second fight was another tough one. You know what I mean? And it was pressure. He was getting pent up against the ropes, kind of like what Chisora was trying to do to him. I thought Chisora was kind of suffocating his own work in there when he was fighting Helenius in their fight. But Duipa, when he was able to stop and put pressure on him, Dillian White trying to put pressure on him using his jab. To me, Helenius has his rough times when he's trying to deal with pressure. Now, Gerald Washington, when I seen him put pressure on some guys, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. You know what I mean? When his last fight, when he decided to stand and trade with Adam Konowski, I thought that was an odd game plan. I don't know if he was trying to just get Konowski's respect early and make him just respect him going into later in the fight. I'm not sure what Gerald's game plan was. You know what I mean? I thought he should have been sticking and moving, using his advantages, his reach and his height in that fight. All right. I have seen Gerald be aggressive in some fights. The John Wesley No Fire fight, he was aggressive, came out being throwing combinations and coming out with a stiff jab right away and trying to land a right hand right away, trying to be aggressive. Seen him aggressive against Travis Walker and Skip Scott and Ray Austin and guys like that. You know what I mean? Different dynamic in this fight, although some of those guys I named are about just as tall as Robert Helenius. But not as experienced and not as good as Helenius. All right. I think Gerald should do some of everything, man. Do what got him when he was that undefeated prospect coming up, man. Even the first 4 rounds of the Wilder fight. Use his jab, move his head offline a little bit. When he gets in close, if you need to hold and grab, hold and grab. Now, maybe he had to do that more in the Miller fight and Konowski fight because those guys are good inside fighters. They like to beat down the body. All right, Helenius isn't that type of guy. So maybe in this situation, Gerald's the guy that's being the aggressor on the inside. He could show some aggression. All right, Helenius is susceptible to being pushed back against the ropes. Maybe Gerald can get his head in his chest, bend down a little bit. So I think Robert maybe has like an inch or two a height on Gerald We'll see once they get close. But I know on paper, Helenius is 1 inch taller. But we will see once they stand face to face. All right. Gerald can get under his chest, be the better athlete, because I do think he's a better athlete as far as, being athletic. But fighting is more than just being an athlete. All right. It's about timing. And if Helenius can get Gerald's timing with his jab, I think Gerald will have a rough time, especially if he can keep him outside with the jab and land that right hand behind it. We've seen Gerald susceptible to getting hit with some right hands. The John Wesley No Fire fight, obviously the Deontay Wilder fight. And I think that Gerald should use his speed, man. Again, I think he's a better athlete. So use those legs, use the speed, get aggressive when you have to, let combinations go when you have to, and then move around a little bit. Make sure you're moving your head and be ready for that jab, right hand, left hook type of rhythm from Helenius. All right. But both these guys do have a tendency to stand straight up. They are susceptible to getting hit with right hands. They can fight with low guards at times. So, hey, man, if the fatigue goes out the window, I've seen these guys kind of tire in their fights. If the fatigue goes out the window, this can turn into a sloppy slugfest. You know what I mean? But good, entertaining fight. I think it's a must win, especially for Gerald, being that he is coming into this fight off a loss. Dropped his last 3 out of his last 4 against very tough opposition. All right, he isn't in there against tomato cans. Robert Helenius, last fight he dropped was against Dillian White, but he did have a tough time against Yuri